Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Laura and Lola. I am knitwear designer Laura Nelkin. This is my adorable cat Buffy, who is really mad at me right now. I am coming to you from the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I think she's given up, like she thought basically she's just died. And so she should just stay right here until she can get away. Sorry, I digress. So, I have a ton to tell you about. I've had a really busy, fun week, and Buffy is trying to get away so I can get going with the log, but I won't let her because I love her so much. How are you guys doing? It's been a crazy week again, and yet, I don't, are weeks flying for you guys? Are they going quickly? Are they going slowly? This week feels like one of the fastest weeks I've had in a long time. I have a ton to go over with you. I am wearing Bead Kerloop, which has finally been released, and I'm going to tell you about that. I am excited because the Finger Lakes region in upstate New York was just designated by Cuomo to be one of the regions that can start to very slowly reopen. And by reopening, it means that some manufacturing can start again and construction can start again. But basically, he set up like 7 points, like 7 standards, that when your region meets those standards, you can start to open. So we're going to open with phase one, and then there's going to be 14 days. And if we fall back on any of those 7 standards, we'll go back again. It seems to me like a really smart, safe way to see if we get to start opening or not. Our area has hardly had any COVID cases, and it doesn't totally make sense for the economy for it to be quite as shut down as it is. That said, these are all my opinions. They are not truths. That said, I'm staying home. I have no reason to go out more than getting groceries and going hiking. So I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing to keep people who do need to go out into the workplace safe. And I hope you guys are doing the same. That is me being like up on a soapbox and stuff. But I'm thrilled to maybe see things moving forward a little bit, and that is bringing me a bit of happiness today. Yay! Um, I just, whenever you see me look down like that, it's because I can't remember what I wanted to tell you about. So the first thing I want to tell you about is Bead Kerloop, which I am wearing. Bead Kerloop, I forgot this right here, so I'm going to go grab it, is a cowl version of Bead Kerchief, which released about a month ago. It is taught in my new class on Blueprint. And a bunch of people, when they saw this pattern release, were like, oh, that would be such a good cowl. I wish it was a cowl. And I was like, I can totally make the bead kerchief a bead kerloop very easily. So bead kerloop has worked very similarly to bead kerchief. I'm casting on right here, and I'm working flat, and I'm working flat for a shorter period of time, like less rows than I did on bead kerchief, until I get to the beading section. And then I'm joining into the round in the back and working the beading section in the round. So that's really fun because all the beads are happening always on right side rounds. You're never working on the wrong side of your work. That's really the only difference between the two patterns. They have the same beaded bind off and everything else. I do have kits for Bead Kerloop, because I might have called it Bead Ker Cowl by mistake, but it's Bead Kerloop. That is its name. Thank you for helping me. I do have kits for it. The kits have a smaller amount of yarn and beads than the Bead Kerchief kit. If you got the Bead Kerchief kit, you can certainly use it to make the Bead Kerloop. You'll just have about half as much yarn left over, but not quite enough beads to make 2 of them. So you would have to supplement your beads to get 2 loops out of 1 shawl kit. Ask if that doesn't make sense. I know it sounds a little crazy pants. Bead Kerloop is up on Ravelry. If you already own a kit, or Or do you have yarn and beads of your own? The pattern is on sale through this Friday. Let me look at the date because I hate when I get dates wrong of this. This Friday is the 15th, May 15th. So it's going to be 50% off through the end of the day on May 15th. So go ahead and snag it on Ravelry while you can. If you decide to get a kit, the pattern is included in the kit. So don't buy the pattern. You don't need it. You'll get a download code with your kit when you get that. And the kits come in 8 colors, and I'll link to them below. And I don't want to like belabor that point too much, but it is a really fun knit. I'm really enjoying wearing it. I love wearing the Bead Kerloop as well. I think my love for them is equally strong, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, ask any questions about that. Next up, the Lola's Choice. Lola's Choice is my small beaded kit club, and I know many of you are in it or have been in it in the past, and I have such a fun time designing the projects for Lola's Choice. One of the tricks with Lola's Choice is it's not a super expensive club. It ships every other month, and so finding yarns that fit the budget for the club and are still really interesting for you is a tiny bit of a challenge. It's doable, but I'm always kind of on the outlook for yarns that I think you'll think are interesting and also fit the budget. So in March, I did Ansel Cowl, and that used I did Presto Cowl with Jill Draper Make Stuff Ansel. And Ansel is a US 100% merino, spun in the US. Jill designs these yarns from scratch. So she has like a concept in her mind of what a yarn should look like and be and how it can be milled. And then she works with mills exclusively. And it was really cool that she was able to do the club with us. That was kind of a special treat. And I didn't know how I was going to top that, choosing this yarn and working with Jill for this, because finding yarns like that for the club it's special. So this time I was looking at yarns and I'd said, okay, so Ansel it's a little more of a farm yarn. It's very soft because it's merino, but it's a little rustic and toothy and interesting. And I wanted to do something kind of ephemeral and light for spring. So I don't know if you guys have seen, this is where I become crazy knitting lady and I put all the knits on. This is Bless Your Heart, and Bless Your Heart uses Fiber Spates Cumulus, and this is what the kits look like. I have a new kit design. I hope you guys are liking them. I'm gonna just open it up with you and show you what this yarn is like. This yarn is a 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 28% merino silk. So it is lighter than the air. It's like a fingering weight, lace weight yarn, kind of in that mode. I would almost call it light fingering weight. And it creates a fabric that is so soft and ethereal and lovely. And the looser gauge you knit it at, the more open it is. And you can see down in the bottom that there's little hearts that the stitch makes down there, which is part of why it's called Bless Your Heart. I had such a fun time designing this. This stitch is actually a stitch that I used. It's a version of the stitch that I used in Loco Shawl, which was in my book, Knockout Knits. And then I used it in a necklace Lokita last year for Lola's Choice. And I always wanted to use it in an overall fabric. And I love the way it came out. And I love it so much that I'm actually working on a shawl with the same yarn. I think that I'm going to try to do some more kits because those sold out very quickly and I don't have any more right now. But I thought at the same time I would work on a shawl. So this is a good example of what design looks like for me. I work in Illustrator and I'm kind of trying to expand this stitch out a little bit to be able to get a repeat. And I'm going to swatch this later this week and see what happens and see if it works that I could do a beaded shawl pattern that would match Bless Your Heart. So it would be Bless Your Heart shawl. We'll see. I'll let you know if that works or doesn't work. Kind of fun. I think this is so fun to get to share these like little bits of the process and also show you when things don't work out and I give up entirely and say, nope, that's not happening. I've been thinking a lot about yarn this week and yarn choice because I made a decision for a project that didn't really work out and I thought it would be fun to show you what happened. You all remember Alpaxis. I showed this to you last week. It is knit with an alpaca linen yarn. You can see, if I come up closely, that there's a lot of air in between the stitches right there. And it's really, really light, and it has incredible drape, but also this weight from the alpaca in the linen. So I've been thinking with Alpaxis that it would look amazing in a gradient yarn. And I haven't been able to find a gradient yarn that has this same kind of open drape. There's no gradient yarns out there that are alpaca and linen. So I found this yarn from Knit Circus, and it's so beautiful. It's called Parasol, and it is a mulberry silk and merino wool that is not superwash. And it came out beautifully, and I'm going to try it on for you. I was thinking about doing it for kits, and if you guys are like, do kits with that yarn, I will do it. But it doesn't quite have the same drape that the original Alpaxis has. Do you see how it's much bulkier? The yarn itself is much plusher and springier, which is a technical term, than this yarn is. So if you see the difference between the two, if I just kind of hold them up, you can see that this is much thinner. It compresses down more. This one's it's much squishier. And I'm not even sure. I think I can just get it around my neck twice. I guess I can get it around my neck twice, but it's got a very different feel than the original yarn. But look what happens when you wear it around your neck. Let me see. Give me a sec. My hair is going to be, I wore my hair up on purpose for this because I knew I was going to be trying stuff on for you. If I go over my shoulders like that, it's pretty incredible. You guys are talking me into it without even saying anything. Let me pull it down over the back of my overalls so we can see the back there. I don't know, what do you guys think? Should I do kits in this yarn? Does it make sense to do? It's just very different, and so I was shocked. I also think the sample knitter and I could go up gauge a teeny tiny bit on it and open up the fabric a little bit, and that would give it a little more drape as well. So let me know what you think. If you think that this yarn works as an alternative for this yarn, they're just so different that I'm going back and forth, and I need coworkers. Be my coworkers. Help me out. We're in this together, right? Okay, so that is my Alpaxis yarn dilemma. And it's really hard to find yarns on the internet. I'm missing right now being able to go to shows and look at different yarns. I can't feel them on the internet. It's really hard to see how they're going to behave, even though I go and I look at projects that are knit with yarns. Oftentimes a lot of the yarns I'm using are really new, and so it's hard. I don't have anything to compare to. With the Cumulus, I could go out and be like, who's using this yarn? What have they done with it? What needle size have they used? What does the fabric look like? What does it look like when you hold it together with something else? But with Parasol, I didn't see a lot of projects out there with it, and I didn't have any experience with it at all. So I'm super interested to hear what you think. That's a bit about yarn choices and what it looks like. I'm seriously, sometimes I have a knowledge base, and then I am throwing pasta at the wall and seeing what sticks, or I'm throwing yarn at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's a lot of what design looks like for me is trial and error and play and process and knowledge, and then forgetting the knowledge I have and remembering it again. And it's very fun to have you on this journey with me. It's crazy. What I'm knitting right now, I am knitting. And I finished the pocket tunic, which I showed you guys last week, the long version in the Catskill Merino, kind of worsted weight, Aran weight with pockets on the side. And I've decided to do a whole collection with those pocket tunics, cropped ones, the long one, different weight yarns. I am deep into, and here's a little reality here, guys. When I'm knitting, this is what knitting looks like. Knitting does not look like those beautiful Instagram posts with everything like laid out with your cup of tea and your succulent. That's not reality. The reality is this craziness going on. I've got I got a lot going on. This is the front of the tunic. I am working this in Susan Anderson's yarn line that she has with her son, Barrett Wool. It's their new Woolens yarn that is milled in Harrisville, and I absolutely adore it. And I am clearly in the mood for stripes lately. So I'm striping. The pattern is going to end up having like a spreadsheet with how many rows you need for each sizes so that you can color in your striping sequence based on the number of colors you choose if you want to stripe it. And if not, you can just work it solid plain. And then I'm on the back right now, so I'm mimicking the striping from the front, and it's just stockinette stitch, and there's a little seed stitch down on the bottom with an integrated I-cord edging to hide the yarns being carried up the side. And this is fun. I've been picking it up and putting it down. I actually made a mistake on the back and had to rip back to the beginning the other night, and that's okay because I love knitting, and so I got to knit more with the same gorgeous yarn. I have a very good attitude about ripping out. I'm looking down because I literally have my basket in between my legs. Right here, I am working on a baby version of the pocket tunic, and the newborn version's not going to have pockets because newborns don't need pockets. I'll start using on the newborn version to have the shoulder wide enough. The side panels needed to not be that wide, and it was like too small to put a pocket in. So it's just going to be a little baby vest, and I am knitting it in Spun Right Round Squish DK, and I think this color is spaced out. It's so pretty. I'm having such a good time knitting it. The reason this looks insane and not Instagram worthy is that I'm working on the neckline right now, and then this is the front over here, and this is the back. But I'm a little worried. Babies have very big heads, but I'm worried that I overcompensated and made the neckline too big, and then I'm going to need to rip back a little bit and figure that out. It's hard. I don't have a baby here to try and jam something over its head, but I do like baby knits to make it easy to get over their heads, because it's sad when you like are trying to scrunch something over their little foreheads. It makes me feel bad. So that's what I'm knitting in my basket. These two things right here. And I'm working on some other ideas. I showed you the Bless Your Heart shawl. I'm just waiting for more cumulus to come from the UK for that. I think I chose a really beautiful moss green, because you guys know I love that olivey green, like this green over here, but like deeper and darker. So I got that coming for playing with on that. And that's all that's knitting. And I have done absolutely no sewing. The sewing pattern that I told you guys on the last log I was going to work on is in the corner on my ironing board. And I need to maybe fold it back up because I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it. I think I was overzealous on the sewing thing right now. Oh, I know. The other thing I'm knitting is the next Lola design, but I can't show that to you. So it's awesome. I love it. There was a really fun conversation in the Ravelry group this week about treats, because it turned out last time I sent Swedish fish, which are one of my like childhood candies that I love. I have these memories. I grew up outside New York City, and so we used to go into Manhattan sometimes in the evening for like dinner with my grandma or a show or something. I don't know, my parents kept us very busy, and I have these childhood memories of going to get bulk candy before we would drive home as a treat to like keep us quiet in the back of the car on the way home. And one of the things I always chose to get was Swedish fish, and I just had this like really vivid memory of my bag of Swedish fish in the back of the car. So, and I think that's the second time I sent them out with Lola kits. I sent them out early on, but it turns out a lot of people, some people have never had them, some people loved them. We do not eat them often because they have that absolutely horrible red food coloring in them, which is not good for you, but once in a while we deserve a treat right now. I did notice that some people were requesting peeps for a future Lola kit, and I thought about it for a second because it actually goes with the theme for July's kit, but I realized that if there were marshmallows in a kit and it sat in your mailbox in July for even a few hours in your metal mailbox, you would have a very, very messy kit to unwrap. So yeah, no marshmallow peeps. I'm sorry. I did find some online if you are still craving them. I didn't know peeps were such a thing. Go figure. They're not, it's not my craving. I would way more go towards a piece of chocolate or a Goldberg's dark chocolate peanut chew. Those were really good. And I also can't ship those because they will melt even in the November kit. If they're going to Florida, they're going to melt. In terms of cooking and baking, on Mother's Day, I made a chocolate ginger walnut sourdough bread. I'll give you guys the link below. It was superb. It is very hearty. We are still eating it. It's almost a little too chocolatey for me. Next time I make it, I'm gonna hold back on the chocolate chips a little bit. It had a few too many, which is, I think, the first time in my life something's had too many chocolate chips in it. We also, with our sourdough starter, made a scallion pancake this weekend that was superb. And that was literally like discard from the sourdough starter with scallions and sesame seeds. And then I made like a chili garlic tamari sesame oil sauce for the side of it. And that was not as good as I've had in a restaurant, but it was great for right at home and not leaving. So I'll give you guys the recipe that I found for that too. I know a lot of you have started sourdough starters. Not everybody has, and I am now wearing overalls because I'm not even trying on my jeans anymore right now. I've entered the overall time. So comfortable, loving them. In terms of watching and reading, what I found this week, I found it last week on Tuesday. My friend linked to a live show that was happening in the National Gallery in Dublin, and it was with a performer, Lisa Hannigan, who I'd never heard of before. And I ended up watching almost the whole thing live, kind of distracted me. And yesterday, just one clip from that performance went up permanently on YouTube. So I'll link to that below. It's stunning. And every Tuesday night, it's called Other Voices Live. They're doing a show from the National Gallery. So I'm going to try and check in on them every Tuesday. I'll give you guys a link for that and see what they're doing. It's a great way to be able to travel and be stuck at home, right? I mean, I was supposed to be going to Ireland in June. The least I could do is go to the National Gallery and hear some music once a week for now, right? Finally, there is not going to be a log next Wednesday. I need to take next week off to deal with some stuff, which means that the next Zoom, so what we do from these logs is the giveaway is a Zoom with me and the Ravelry moderators. I choose 6 people total to be in it with the moderators, so we all get to talk. They're really fun. The next Zoom is going to be May 24th. I will choose the winners like May 22nd or May 23rd. And to win being able to be in that Zoom, could you share something with me that you have found lately that you are loving? I do a lot of sharing with you, right? Of things that I'm finding that I'm enjoying. Share something with me, whether it's a recipe, it's a book, it's a movie, it's something you found on YouTube. I don't really care. Some knitting project you're working on. Just share something with me. Leave a comment either in the notes below on this log or over on Ravelry on the thread. If you leave a comment in both places, doubles your chances of winning. And right now I'm choosing some people who've never been in it before. I try to do random number, but if your number comes up and you've been in a Zoom before, you get to be in again. So don't hesitate. If you want to leave a comment, but you don't want to be in the Zoom, just tell me that. That is fine. Not everybody wants to be in the Zooms. I get that entirely. I hope you guys have a great week. It's been really fun doing these with you. I look forward to them immensely. I'm surprised by how much I'm enjoying them, and I hope you are too. Thank you. Happy knitting!